Hello. Thanks for coming to walk with me today as I talk to you about my transition from teacher to tech. Today I'm walking at 1.5 miles per hour in case you want to follow my pace, or of course feel free to walk a little faster. I will say earlier today when I was walking during work, I was walking at 2 miles per hour because I wasn't talking to anybody, but we've upped it a little from the 1.3 I think I did before to 1.5 now. So I want to start this video by talking about how I knew it was time for my teaching career to end, because I've had a lot of people ask me that, like, how did you know you didn't want to be a teacher anymore? And first of all, I should say, it's not that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. I think it's just my idea, or what I thought it was going to be like to be a teacher, was more of a fantasy based on like what you see in movies, or based on my own personal experience as a student when I was in elementary school. And of course, time changes, the way things are done changes, but you don't always know those things. So yeah, I'll start by saying it's not necessarily that I didn't want to do it anymore. It just wasn't what was best for me anymore. But I knew it was time because teaching was consuming me, and not in a good way. And I say not in a good way because in the beginning and sometimes throughout my career, teaching was also consuming me, but I didn't think of it as negative, even though honestly it probably was, and also contributed to burnout, even though I was happy about the consumption at that time. But what I mean by that is I could not turn it off. Like, most of my day, I was thinking about what I needed to do for my classroom, what I needed to prepare for my students, if there was like a school event coming up or something like my team was doing, or if I needed to reorganize my classroom or label our library, all those types of things. It literally just consumed me. So I'd go to work, I'd often stay after, like an hour to 2 hours after the contracted time to work on like the things that I wanted for my classroom, because during the day I didn't have time to work on those types of things. So there was that. Also, like, I would bring, even though I stayed late, I would often bring work home with me. Again, that was on me, that was my choice most of the time. There were some times that like things needed to be done last minute that wasn't my fault, but I still needed to do it. But often, of course, I chose to bring the work home. So I would be cutting out laminated letters or cutting out laminated games I made for a center, laminating them at home on my own sometimes. Like, I ended up buying my own laminator because I don't know if it was my first or second year, but in the beginning when I didn't have a lot of like activities, they had like old center activities, but like things had changed, so I needed new ones. So luckily there's like Teachers Pay Teachers or other resources that either I made or other people made on my team. We had to laminate them, and I remember our assistant principal like came down to where the laminating, where you would pick up your laminating stuff, and she was like, "This is all for you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, someone on the team recommended I get these games or get these centers and all that." And she wasn't like mean to me per se about it, but basically told me I could not use that much lamination. So I was like, well, alrighty. So it was also consuming my money, I guess you would say, while we're talking about teaching was consuming me, because I bought my own laminator, have to buy a little lamination stuff. I bought certain tools to help me cut. I ended up buying a Cricut to make letters for bulletin boards because the expectations were, and see, this is something you had to do after school. There wasn't enough time during like a break to, like a specials break to do this, but to like change out the bulletin board every month. And so yeah, teaching was consuming me. That was one thing that helped me know it was time to go. The second thing was I didn't really care anymore. And I don't want it to seem like I didn't care about the students. I did. I never stopped caring about the students, but like I used to take a lot of pride in everything I created, in the way I set stuff up, and especially like if you, I don't know what all states use the TEKS system, but where you get rated over different like basically objectives from your principal, assistant principals. And I used to really want to do well on that, and it bothered me if I didn't, but that last year or so, I was just so burnt out, I guess we'll say, and I was just so like lost, and I just didn't even care about my score. So that was a sign to me, because I like to achieve, I like to do well for myself and for my team and for my school, for my students. So the fact that I was just like, you know what, give me what score you got to give me because I'm doing the best I can, I didn't want to feel that way. Which kind of goes into my next point, which is my performance was suffering. Like, I just felt like I used to be really good at going in, putting on a happy face, and basically being an actress. That's what you have to do sometimes as a teacher. And I was just like so tired, and so tired of all the extra work, all the behaviors, prepping everything. Like, I did my best to put on a happy face, but I could definitely, like, I could feel I wasn't giving it that like oomph that I used to. So, and that's not who I am. I like to do my best work. So that wasn't happening anymore. And then the last thing that probably helped me realize it was time to go was just all the stress and the effects on my mental health, and also weight gain. And no, I'm not blaming teaching on all of those things, but I was just really stressed from being overworked and trying to get all these things done. Again, part of that was my fault, part of it is the expectations you have when you're as a teacher, but I used to walk more, I used to go to the gym, I used to come home and prep food and just do a better job, like, you know, at the beginning of my teaching career. And over time, especially the last 2 to 3 years of my teaching career, which was 2019, 2020, 2021. I remember I'd be like, I would have a plan for dinner, which people do this all the time. This isn't like just for teachers, but like I'd have the stuff for dinner, I'd be ready to go home and make it, and I would just be like leaving school like, oh my gosh, it's already 5:30, I'm just now leaving, I'm starving because I haven't eaten since 11, because lunch schedules for teachers and students, it's so early sometimes. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna grab like Chili's to go or something like that. And that started happening a lot more often. And then I would come home and eat and sit because I was tired. So those things did lead to weight gain. Obviously it wasn't teaching that led to weight gain, but it just so happened all that made a perfect storm, and here I am trying to rectify that now. I did want to mention some resources I used, or that kind of came up while I was thinking about leaving teaching. And one was the Teacher Career Coach podcast. It would talk a lot about different things you could do, like different jobs, and it's still going. I haven't listened to it in a few years now, but you know, they would like interview former teachers and learn about their current job roles and how they got there, and how it compared to the work they did in the classroom and that kind of thing. So that was helpful. Also, TikTok was actually a really good resource for me too. It just so happened, probably due to COVID, I will say, so a lot of people started thinking like teaching's not for me. So there was a lot of TikTok videos out there with people sharing their story. And I just remember seeing this one, and it was the day a girl had quit her job, and she'd like, part of it was like showing her like happy in the beginning, like her first or second year teaching. She's like dancing, having a good time. And then a few years later, she's like having a meltdown in her car, like just doesn't want to do anymore. And I related to that way too much, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably time for me to go to. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, I think it was part 3 of my teacher journey video. Midwinter break of 2021, which is the break that happens around Christmas time. You're out for like, we were out for like 2 weeks. And I just knew in that moment, like, time's up, I need a plan. And I knew that I wanted to go through the end of the school year. Like, I didn't want to abandon my class, my team, my principal, who was really nice, my school. But I also knew that if something came my way that was right, I would have to go and I had to put myself first. But from the research I had done, it looked like it took a while to get a job. So I'm like, you know what, now, when better to prep than now while I'm off? So that teacher career coach podcast I was talking about before, on their website, they had a free quiz. So basically you could put in various, you answered various questions, and it would tell you like what job could be a potential good fit for you. And so I did that, and I believe my result was like a project manager, because I really like to be organized, I like to plan, I like to schedule, that kind of thing, like have those goals. So I think that was the direction it pointed me in. So I started searching that job on Google. I also looked at it, I think it may have given you like a few different choices, or if not, like they had some other ones listed on their site. So it was like customer success managers, project managers, sales, which I thought I would want to do, but I'm really glad I didn't end up on that. A trainer, those types of things. So I just started searching like on Google as well, like what other jobs can a teacher do, like with their skills? And I kept seeing like a trend of similar roles like that. So I just kept researching jobs and trying to see like what the experience required was versus what I had done, and like how could I make that work. So the first step after kind of, well, I say I had a path, I feel like I changed my mind a bunch of times about what I wanted to do, but after I felt like I had a path, I rewrote my resume. And your resume is obviously so important, and there's a lot of really cute ways you can make your resume now. Like you have a Canva membership, they have all these cute templates. Yeah, all that's great, except I can't remember what the system is, like the online system that kind of like weeds through all of the applications and resumes. But if you have that cutesy stuff, like that's great for teaching if you're going to hand that or email it to somebody. But in terms of software running their algorithms trying to find candidates, apparently that can really hinder your chances on getting a call back or an interview. So kept it really simple. I actually hired somebody, I had posted something on LinkedIn and someone had reached out to me, and even though she was very nice, I gave her a nice review. She's very helpful. It was very expensive for her to help me redo my resume. I think I paid like $100 or something like that. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But in that moment, I was just like feeling so lost, because I mean, I've had other jobs outside of teaching, but not many as I've been like an adult. So it had been a while since I had to worry about a resume. And the resumes I'd worked on the last few years were all teaching resumes. So I felt like I needed help. In hindsight, I really wish I would have just done more research on my own, but it was very early on, like this was still a midwinter break. So I had the help, I took the help. My resume looked nice. I ended up changing it several times, but I was at least able to build off of what this person helped me with. So there's that. But like one piece of advice is to make sure you match your resume to the job, like description and the things it says it wants. Obviously not lie, but just be careful about the wording, because that matters. Like maybe on your resume it says you led that you led professional development or training, but maybe on a job like description it says something about lead. You could say instead like lead training on XYZ, whatever the software is. Like I led training on Schoology software to other adults, because a lot of the time I noticed when I actually got to the point where I was talking to people is they just wanted to know, they as in companies, they want to know your experience with adults. As a teacher, of course, you have a lot of experience with students, but you talk to their parents, you have team members you collaborate with, you have a principal, you know what I mean? There's the school librarians that you're working with, so you just really have to think about what experiences do you have with adults, and especially if you, depending on the role, but especially if you've ever led PD or like anything, like even if you've taught one person how to do something, like I mentioned in a previous video, Class Dojo. Like if I taught someone else some things about Class Dojo, then I can put on my resume that I helped someone learn a new software or an application. So it's thinking about it like that, and then being able to, when you get into an interview, being able to talk about it and talk about like how you did it, because that's what they really want to know. Another tip that I kept getting a lot was to apply when you're applying for jobs on the company website versus job boards. So I would go to LinkedIn and I would look using various different keywords, and then I would go to the company's website and apply directly there. I don't really know if that matters or not, but that's what I did, and that's advice I see out there a lot. So keep that in your back pocket, use it or don't. The job I have now, I can't remember what keyword, my job title is content manager. I don't recall that was not the keyword that I searched for. I think I was like looking for like an LMS, a learning management system manager type role. And I got led to there, which is great. So just maybe like play around with keywords a little bit, depending on what, like if you're looking for a trainer, depending on if you want to do like live or online stuff, you might be like e-learning developer or on-demand content creator. Like you just have to kind of play around with keywords and see what comes up.
Thank you for walking with me as I discussed part 1 of my transition from teacher to tech. Join me for part 2 next week to discuss more about job searching and the interview process I went through and what I'm doing now. See you next time. Bye.